The quiet murmurs that once drifted through the hidden hills of Montecito have now erupted into a Hollywood scandal shaking the entertainment world. Veteran insiders in Los Angeles are disclosing shocking claims about Meghan Markle, revelations far more damaging than most imagined. Talent managers and PR representatives are said to be warning their most valuable clients to steer clear of being photographed alongside the Duchess of Sussex. The warning is not subtle. It reflects a belief that her brand has become so controversial that being linked to her in public could leave lasting harm. One source compared it to standing too close to something radioactive. Nobody wants to take the risk. Industry figures, speaking under the condition of anonymity, insist the instructions being handed out could not be clearer. Even if you know Meghan socially, even if you bump into her at a Montecito fundraiser or dinner event, the message is the same. Absolutely no photographs. Top agencies are making it understood that partnerships, promotions, or commercial links with her have become untouchable. According to these reports, any A-lister seen joining forces with Meghan Markle would risk serious damage to their own image. What makes the situation more startling is that this is not limited to endorsement deals or business opportunities. The warnings extend to informal occasions. Agents are said to be coaching their clients to position themselves carefully at gatherings, ensuring they are nowhere near Meghan when cameras appear. Some describe the atmosphere as if her presence carried an invisible stigma that could rub off simply by standing in the same frame. In fact, sources suggest a few well-known names have chosen to leave parties early upon learning that she had arrived, unwilling to risk the fallout of even a casual photo connection. This level of avoidance marks a stunning revere. Sal for someone who once worked tirelessly to build Hollywood connections. Meghan had famously invited numerous celebrities she barely knew to her royal wedding, eager to surround herself with A-listers. Now the contrast could not be more dramatic. What once looked like calculated social climbing has collapsed into social exile. And according to those familiar with the matter, this growing blacklisting is not being orchestrated by any shadowy cabal. It is instead an organic reaction from an industry that values trust, consistency, and beneficial relationships. The entertainment business thrives on mutual loyalty, but the very people Meghan once pursued with such intensity are now distancing themselves, having lost patience with the ongoing controversies. The shift did not happen overnight, yet even seasoned industry veterans are said to be astonished at how quickly Meghan has slipped from sought-after newcomer to persona non grata. When she and Prince Harry first moved to California, glossy magazine covers framed them as the new powerhouse couple of Hollywood. Today, that image has all but disintegrated, replaced by reports of her toxic reputation and dwindling relevance. Those close to top agencies point to several turning points that damaged her standing. It wasn't a single dramatic incident, but rather a string of moves that eroded her relationships one after another. The Oprah Winfrey interview, though groundbreaking, reportedly raised early red flags. But it was Meghan's ongoing and repeated criticism of the royal family that insiders claim sealed her fate. Hollywood is built on the idea of discretion, and many celebrities were unsettled by how openly Meghan aired family disputes on a global stage. The fear quickly grew that if she could attack her own relatives so publicly, nobody else could ever feel secure around her. According to insiders, the perception took hold that Meghan was willing to trade loyalty for profit. This idea alarmed A-listers who had built billion-dollar brands dependent on privacy and image control. The thinking became simple. If she was prepared to monetize one of the oldest institutions in the world, what would stop her from doing the same to her celebrity friends? Over time, this sentiment evolved into a cautionary tale. Meghan Markle has become, in industry conversations, an example of what not to do when navigating fame and influence. Her name is reportedly used in internal discussions among executives as a lesson on prioritizing sensational stories over relationship building. What once looked like ambition is now being described as professional self-destruction. Major production houses and streaming services are increasingly wary of attaching themselves to her projects. Sources claim her brand is now synonymous with drama, controversy, and risk. Even Netflix, which invested an estimated $87 million in her and Harry's creative projects, is said to be reconsidering the long-term value of the partnership. When your own business partners begin questioning whether you are worth the investment, it signals a dangerous tipping point. And perhaps the most brutal part of this scenario is that industry veterans say Meghan herself is largely responsible for her position. Yet she reportedly remains convinced that everyone else is to blame. According to a report from tabloid journalist Matthew Acton, she has become fixated on the idea that a coordinated conspiracy exists in Hollywood with the sole purpose of destroying her. What's most astonishing is the example she points to as proof. Meghan allegedly believes that Taylor Swift deliberately timed her engagement announcement to Travis Kelce to coincide with the launch of Meghan's Netflix program, With Love, Meghan. In her view, one of the world's biggest stars orchestrated her personal milestone to deliberately overshadow the debut of a lifestyle series. The claim has raised eyebrows even among those sympathetic to M. Egan, as the suggestion that Swift would coordinate life events around another celebrity's schedule appears implausible. Close contacts also claim Meghan has begun referring to a concept she calls the dark PR arts. She is reportedly convinced that top figures in the entertainment world employ strategic publicity campaigns to drown out her projects. According to one insider who spoke to Radar Online, Meghan sees Taylor's engagement news as just one piece of a deliberate effort to block her success. The irony, as critics point out, is that Meghan herself has been accused of employing aggressive PR maneuvers in the past. She previously worked with Sunshine Sachs, a public relations firm known for combative tactics. Online communities such as the Sussex Squad have long been criticized for launching targeted social media attacks against Meghan's detractors. To some observers, her complaints about dark PR arts sound like projection of the very strategies she once allegedly used. What makes this paranoia more troubling is her reported belief that she is reliving the struggles of Princess Diana. According to sources, Meghan has suggested she is now facing the same hostile forces that targeted Diana decades ago. Critics say this comparison is deeply problematic, minimizing Diana's real suffering while inflating Meghan's own professional setbacks. The issue takes on an even darker dimension when it comes to Meghan's marriage. Sources claim she frequently invokes Diana's memory to persuade Harry that external forces are against them. By presenting every failure as evidence of persecution, Meghan is said to reinforce Harry's fears of history repeating itself. Experts warn this dynamic risks worsening the trauma Harry has carried since his mother's death. The narrative, critics argue, is less about truth and more about control. By drawing parallels to Diana, Meghan ons herself as a victim while at the same time leveraging Harry's grief to maintain his loyalty. It's a tactic that industry insiders describe as both manipulative and emotionally destructive. But perhaps the most dramatic example of Meghan's growing isolation came from her reported interaction with Dolly Parton. The country music icon, famous for her generosity and willingness to collaborate, allegedly declined Meghan's invitation to appear on With Love, Meghan. For many, this rejection spoke volumes. If even Dolly Parton, renowned for rarely saying no, chose not to be involved, it suggested Meghan's brand had become too toxic to touch. According to claims made by those close to the situation, Meghan was devastated by the refusal. Yet instead of accepting it as a professional setback, she reportedly became convinced that Kate Middleton's influence played a role. The theory that the Princess of Wales personally intervened to block Dolly Parton has been widely dismissed as implausible, but it illustrates the level of paranoia some insiders say Meghan has developed. From a practical perspective, analysts argue Dolly's decision was common sense. Having spent years criticizing the royal family, Meghan was unlikely to appeal to someone who respects the monarchy. For Dolly Parton, whose career has been built on positivity and respect, aligning with Meghan's controversies could only bring complications. This episode underscores what critics describe as Meghan's misunderstanding of how Hollywood relationships truly work. Titles and status may open doors initially, But long-term partnerships depend on qualities like loyalty, trustworthiness, and mutual respect. Without those, even the most prestigious name carries little value. The Dolly Parton rejection revealed a much larger issue that critics believe runs through Meghan's entire Hollywood strategy. She appeared to believe that holding the Duchess of Sussex title would guarantee collaborations with the biggest stars, but the entertainment industry does not work that way. A title may spark interest, but lasting relationships are built on authenticity, gratitude, and reliability, traits her detractors claim she has not consistently demonstrated. What makes the Dolly incident even more humiliating is that she embodies exactly the qualities Meghan wishes to borrow for her own brand: beloved, respected, and universally admired. If someone with Dolly's reputation refuses to be associated, the signal it sends to others in Hollywood is devastating. The rejection echoed across celebrity circles, reinforcing the sense that working with Meghan is simply not worth the risk. Observers say the more painful part of this unraveling is the effect it has on Prince Harry. Sources claim Meghan often uses references to Diana's tragic story to frame every rejection or setback as part of a broader persecution narrative. The implication, according to insiders, is that they must stay united against outside forces seeking to destroy them. While this may strengthen Harry's protective instincts, critics warn it also deepens his sense of paranoia and separation from his family. This is especially troubling given Harry's long struggle with the trauma of losing his mother. Where he once spoke openly about therapy and healing, he is now repeating conspiracy-style claims about coordinated efforts to undermine him and Meghan. Friends and family members reportedly worry that he is becoming increasingly isolated, locked into a worldview where everyone outside their circle is an enemy. The repeated comparison to Diana is particularly controversial because, as commentators note, Diana's circumstances were profoundly different. She endured a loveless marriage, suffered under relentless press attention, and battled genuine hostility from parts of the royal establishment. Meghan, by contrast, made a deliberate decision to step away from royal duties, to attack the institution publicly, and to embrace commercial opportunities. Linking the two stories, critics argue, is both misleading and manipulative. The damage of this narrative is not limited to private conversations. It is affecting Meghan and Harry's standing in Hollywood. High-profile figures are gravitating back toward the royal family, leaving Meghan and Harry more isolated. Industry watchers describe it as a migration of celebrity loyalty. A-listers once eager to be close to the Sussexes are now appearing alongside William and Kate instead. The list of celebrities drifting away reads like a roll call of Hollywood royalty. David and Victoria Beckham, once considered a key link for Meghan, reportedly cut ties after she accused Victoria of leaking stories to the press. That accusation, described as both baseless and offensive, was enough to permanently rupture the relationship. Today, the Beckhams maintain warm ties with William and Kate, attending royal events and keeping distance from the Sussexes. George and Amal Clooney represent another missed opportunity. Though invited to Meghan's wedding, they never became close friends. Analysts suggest that Meghan's approach of treating them like symbolic accessories rather than genuine acquaintances backfired. The Clooneys, experienced in navigating fame, were quick to recognize the superficiality. Now they too are seen associating with the working royals rather than the California exiles. The starkest example of this celebrity realignment came during Taylor Swift's Eras tour. Meghan attended performances in Los Angeles, yet failed to secure any private meeting or photo with the pop icon. Meanwhile, in London, Prince William attended with Prince George and Princess Charlotte and was invited backstage for a personal visit with Taylor Swift. The resulting photos of William and his children alongside the singer were shared worldwide, symbolizing the cultural prestige the royal family still commands. This divide highlights a larger truth about celebrity culture. Stars calculate which alliances will enhance their long-term legacies. Friendships with future kings and queens carry historic weight, while association with ex-royals embroiled in controversy offers little benefit. Meghan's early attempts to present herself as Hollywood's bridge to royalty have now collapsed, leaving her stranded without either base of power. Reports indicate that many celebrities now avoid events where Meghan might be present. What was once her dream, to unite Hollywood glamour with royal connections, has instead become a warning case. Her critics argue that in trying to leverage royal ties for Hollywood success, she managed to lose both worlds. Behind the scenes, the strain is also showing at Netflix. Executives who once championed the Sussexes as prestige signings are now quietly voicing disappointment. While Meghan continues to claim external sabotage and conspiracies, sources say Netflix decision-makers view her struggles as self-inflicted. To them, the numbers speak louder than excuses. The launch of With Love, Meghan was intended to establish her as a new lifestyle authority, comparable to figures like Martha Stewart. But despite Netflix's marketing push, the series failed to spark interest. Social media chatter was minimal, and mainstream coverage was lukewarm. When Taylor Swift's engagement news overshadowed the show's debut, Meghan reportedly interpreted it as deliberate sabotage. Insiders, however, insist the simpler explanation is that audiences were not engaged with her project in the first place. According to industry accounts, what frustrates Netflix most is Meghan's refusal to acknowledge her own role. Other creators facing poor performance typically adjust content, refine marketing, or rethink audience strategy. Meghan, by contrast, is said to double down on theories about outside enemies. This mindset, executives claim, makes collaboration nearly impossible. The contrast with successful Netflix creators is stark. Shows that launch well often generate organic social buzz, build loyal audiences, and spark cultural moments. Meghan's productions, in comparison, are struggling to find footing. The growing perception within Netflix is that her expectations are unrealistic. Reports suggest she demands the same promotional resources as top-performing stars, despite failing to deliver comparable audience numbers. This dynamic has strained her relationship with the platform. Executives are increasingly cautious about extending further commitments, with some questioning whether the initial $87 million deal was a costly misstep. One insider was quoted as saying, "They had never worked with talent so determined to blame external forces rather than examining their own strategies." The most damaging consequence of this perspective is that it blocks improvement. By attributing every problem to sabotage, Meghan leaves no room for honest evaluation or growth. This cycle of denial and underperformance is proving expensive for Netflix, and patience appears to be wearing thin. But the Netflix saga is only part of a broader pattern. Industry figures point out that Meghan has repeatedly alienated allies, both in Hollywood and in her personal life. One of the most telling examples is her fractured friendship with Jessica Mulroney, once described as her closest confidant. After a social media controversy placed Jessica under fire, Meghan allegedly distanced herself instead of offering support. To many observers, the decision suggested that even her most loyal friends could be discarded when inconvenient. Millie McIntosh, a British reality star who had welcomed Meghan into London's social scene, experienced something similar. Once Meghan's romance with Harry began, Millie reportedly found her calls and messages unanswered. The perception, according to sources, was that Meghan considered her connection no longer useful and quietly cut ties. These incidents created an impression across celebrity circles that Meghan values friendships only as long as they serve her interests. When relationships no longer provide leverage, they are abandoned. This reputation has made new supporters increasingly hard to find. Few in Hollywood want to risk being the next name on a growing list of discarded allies. The effect is a vicious cycle. As more high-profile figures distance themselves, Meghan is forced to seek support from those with diminished reputations themselves. Critics point to her association with Chrissy Teigen, whose history of online controversies mirrors Meghan's own troubled public image. Instead of elevating Meghan's brand, the connection only reinforces the sense that she is aligned with controversial rather than admired figures. Even her attempts to engage the Kardashian family, known for thriving on publicity, have largely fallen flat. Though there have been occasional social media gestures, the Kardashians have avoided formal collaborations. For a family that has built an empire on attention, the choice to steer clear of Meghan speaks volumes. To industry observers, if even the Kardashians see the risks as greater than the benefits, the outlook for Meghan's Hollywood ambitions appears bleak. The rejection pattern is becoming so consistent that analysts say it is now studied as an industry case of what not to do. The conclusion being drawn is that Meghan has built a reputation for burning bridges, prioritizing short-term headlines over long-term credibility. This perception alone makes her a dangerous associate in a town where reputation is currency. At the root of this crisis lies what insiders describe as Meghan's single greatest miscalculation: the decision to sever ties with the royal family. Her marriage into the monarchy transformed her from a relatively unknown television actress into a global figure. But once she walked away and launched attacks against the institution, she cut off the very foundation that had given her relevance. Without royal backing, Meghan reverted to being a former actress trying to compete in a crowded lifestyle market. Analysts are blunt in their assessment. Her acting career had been modest, her lifestyle blog unremarkable, and her industry connections limited. What made her stand out was the royal connection. By rejecting it so publicly, she undermined her own most valuable asset. The contrast between Meghan's former royal status and her current position could not be more glaring. When she was an active member of the royal family, A-listers competed for invitations to her events. Her wedding guest list resembled a red carpet lineup, filled with stars who had little or no personal relationship with her, but desperately wanted to be part of the royal spectacle. Now, those same celebrities are said to carefully maneuver to avoid being seen near her. Meanwhile, William and Catherine continue to attract genuine enthusiasm from Hollywood's elite. When they attend events, they are surrounded by celebrities eager to be photographed at their side. Taylor Swift's backstage meeting with William and his children became an instant viral sensation, generating millions of social media reactions worldwide. The excitement surrounding that moment underscored how much prestige remains attached to the working royals. Meghan, by contrast, faces either polite acknowledgement or active avoidance when she appears at celebrity gatherings. Commentators note that Meghan had every opportunity to maintain influence while still pursuing Hollywood ambitions. Sarah Ferguson, for example, managed to keep connections to royal circles even after her divorce from Prince Andrew, and leveraged them for decades. Meghan could have chosen a similar path, balancing Hollywood work with respectful ties to the monarchy. Instead, she burned those bridges with public criticism, ensuring she could no longer rely on royal association. The entertainment industry operates on hierarchies of influence, and royalty sits above even the biggest celebrities. Fame and wealth can be earned, but royal status carries historical significance and exclusivity that cannot be manufactured. Celebrities such as George Clooney, David Beckham, and Taylor Swift understand this distinction, which is why their loyalty gravitates toward working royals rather than former members who have rejected the institution. Insiders say the royal connection catastrophe has left Meghan struggling to find her place. Without the backing of the monarchy, she is seen as just another personality trying to build a brand in a saturated market. The mystique that once surrounded her has evaporated. What remains, critics argue, is someone who offers little unique value to a celebrity class already overflowing with wealth, fame, and influence. This downfall is especially stark given how unprecedented it is. Industry analysts argue Meghan's situation represents a complete collapse of opportunity, something rarely seen in modern celebrity culture. Once burned at this level, bridges cannot be rebuilt. The reputational damage is too extensive, the relationships too fractured. Adding to this sense of permanence is the fact that key royal figures have passed away. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip both died while still bearing the weight of Meghan's public criticisms. Analysts note that reconciliation is impossible with those she accused, and the allegations of racism and mistreatment will remain part of her legacy. Even if she attempted to repair ties with surviving royals, the admissions required would undermine the entire victim narrative she has built. To acknowledge falsehoods in the Oprah interview or retract allegations would dismantle the persona she has crafted. Observers argue that Meghan's pride and self-image make such reversals unthinkable. The accusations she launched against the monarchy cannot easily be walked back without it admitting deliberate exaggeration. As a result, insiders believe reconciliation is not just unlikely, but psychologically impossible for her. The more pressing problem is that while Meghan remains consumed by conspiracy theories, Hollywood has moved on. New stars rise each year, fresh relationships form, and industry energy flows toward those delivering genuine value. Meghan's fixation on alleged plots against her has become a distraction rather than a solution, locking her into a cycle of failure. Executives and managers reportedly cite her career path as an example of how strategic missteps can destroy even the most promising opportunities. Where other celebrities adapt, pivot, or reinvent themselves, Meghan clings to grievance. Analysts describe it as a case study in self-sabotage. The brutal truth, according to industry insiders, is that Meghan was never as important as she believed. Her rise was rapid and extraordinary, but it depended almost entirely on royal status. Without it, her Hollywood ambitions lack the foundation needed to compete. Now, as rejection piles on rejection, her relevance is fading fast. The conclusion drawn within entertainment circles is stark. Meghan Markle has reached a point of no return. Her reputation is so comprehensively damaged that no amount of rebranding, PR, or new ventures can restore her former allure. The opportunities once within reach are gone, and the doors that have closed will not reopen. So, what do you think about Meghan's dramatic collapse in Hollywood? Share your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for more updates as the story continues to unfold.